Just because you didn't blow a large wad of cash on your wheel gun doesn't mean you have to put up with a lackluster finish. This is a Taurus 605 that I had done up some time ago. Taurus, you know, they had that really dull stainless. It was almost like a dull battleship gray, and then they had just the standard rubber grips on it. Well, for $3, I wound up changing my finish here. I used a common right-off-the-shelf Dremel attachment, you'll see. And then I put a set of VZ grips on here. Now, the VZ grips would be optional. Some people think they're expensive. I don't think they are because they're under a C note. So now, some time ago, you guys may remember that I pit the Sar SR38 against the Smith & Wesson 686. Now, performance-wise, we were both doing very well, but the SR38 was definitely lacking in the looks department. So what I wound up doing was, I remembered what I did to the little Taurus 605. I said, well, let's go ahead and get rid of that dull stainless finish on the SR38 and do this thing up as well. Also, there's going to be an elephant in the room. The Sar SR38 had just a black rubber overmolded grip. If you notice, this thing's got some bling right here on it. But knowing that this is very much an L-frame clone, having those in-frame grips laying around, I said, well, let's go ahead and see how they line up. Of course, they're both round butt. This one actually has the round butt back strap here on it. And so I went ahead and put these on there, and I had to do just a little bit of modification, which I'll show you here in just a little bit. I haven't refinished that or completely smoothed it up yet to let you see where I actually had to adapt it. But yeah, this little SR38 and the 605, I mean, they look like they cost, I don't know, probably a couple $100 more than they actually did. So let's go ahead and give these two a close look. So now check these things out. They're absolutely different than that dull gray color. Now, if you'll notice on the SR38, I even went one and above and beyond and did the yoke here. The yoke used to be black. So I went ahead and just removed that black powder coat finish and turned this thing into just a looker. So now, I mean, literally, this thing looks like it would cost at least a couple $100 more than it does when you get one. But now, the common equation here. How did I get these both to shine like this? Well, you're going to go to your local box store or your old Google machine, and you're going to punch in Dremel 512E. That 512E is an attachment, that pad. It attaches to a quick detach. So, you know, you can see I've got my Dremel here. This is my rusty, crusty Dremel that I've had for a long time. And this is a half worn down pad. Now, this pad simply fits this quick detach. They've got a really cool quick detach system. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but I've got it for cut-off wheels, and then in this case, this right here. And it looks like they actually, you may be able to arbor that in the one post that just takes the set screw, but the back side of it is the quick detach. So all you do is you just pull back right here on this collar, you expose the T, you drop it down on there, and watch me not be able to do this on camera. I gotta hold my tongue just right. Then boom, it locks on. So now I had actually tried to do a full-on video, and I had an audio problem. So naturally, when I had an audio problem, I had to redo the video. But I had completely blown this gun apart, the SR38. I had completely blown it apart, and then was going to show you step by step on how to refinish this. But now simply what you do, if you want everything linear, I always like to go along the top strap, along the barrel, and everything just like Ruger does. You know, Ruger, they've got a really beautiful brushed finish on their guns. So what you do is you just take your pad. Like I said, this one's well worn because I kind of had to use it on this gun. But you're just going to move in linear movements. You're just going to take and just constantly down the barrel, down the frame, keep everything in one straight motion. Now, one thing that I did not do is I left the top alone. The reason that I left the top alone and the sight, I didn't want to knock the finish off the sight, is I wanted the anti-glare. You know, and I did that on both of them. I left both of them alone, that way it's anti-glare. That's the worst thing you want to do, is go throw this thing up and then that sun just goes bing and hits you right in the daggum eyeballs. So simply enough, when it comes to the cylinder, you'll just sit there and hold the cylinder in your hand, rotate the cylinder, brush, 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 and you're going to keep in that same continuous motion. So as the parts are oriented on the gun, you're just going to keep going this way. And that's exactly what I wound up doing with the Sar SR38 too. half of me wanted to do the trigger and the hammer, and I said, no, I kind of like the contrast of this black, but I definitely did love the improvement over getting rid of that black on the yoke there. So now let's talk about these grips. Now, your in-frame grips here, you might try L-frame. The L-frame seemed like it was less of a fit for me because I had tried to put another set of Altamontes on here. But what I wound up doing is there's one small pin right here in the bottom of the grip frame, and that small pin just didn't quite align. So I literally just took and got in there and clearanced it, not even a 1/16 of an inch, and it slid over the top of it. So now you can see right here where it's unfinished. These right here on the back strap. This right here stuck out probably about 3/16 of an inch or so. And I had to cut these back, I guess you'd call them bat wings off. And I cut them off, and I've still got to do some sanding there. But you can see where I haven't refinished it. But simply enough, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and scrape this whole grip except for my engraved part here, my checkering and the scroll work. But I'm just going to use a scraper to scrape that, and then I'm just going to respray some urethane on it, and that'll get me back to looking really good. But of course, when I had this thing apart, this thing being very much a clone of the Smith & Wesson L-frame, I laid this side by side to my 686, and it was just absolutely the feel, everything is the same. When I took this apart, I actually wound up losing, you take your side plate off here. Don't ever pry the side plate. All you do is tap it with a screwdriver and it'll pop off. When I took my side plate off here, I looked and a lot of it was very familiar. And what I actually wound up doing was the rebound spring. I launched it across the room, lost my rebound spring. So simply enough, all I had to do is go get in my stash of Smith & Wesson parts, and the Smith & Wesson rebound spring fits this thing. They're that close. But now for this one, I had taken it to a shooting competition in its factory form. I did pretty good considering this thing has a relatively high trigger pull. The trigger pull is pretty heavy in double action. Single action is pretty nice. But yeah, this thing looks like $1 million now. And when it comes back to the 605, let me go ahead and detail this one. I did bob the hammer. The hammer was very easily bobbed. I literally just kind of went zip and then brushed it over to refinish that and make that look nice. I should have cut the little notch off of it, but then I thought, I kind of like to have that little bit of an extra mass for crushing primers and things like that. But yeah, the little 605 here with those VZ grips. These are I want to say they're a hyena or a coyote. I'll make a correction if I'm wrong. But these grips, I like them really well. One thing that I wound up doing, those grips, I put them on my Smith & Wesson 60, my Model 60, but I chose a boot grip. Now this boot grip right here takes that hump off. So I'm either going to order, or since these are G10, I'm going to knock that hump off the bottom of those. That way, this right here, I just like having that hump gone. I mean, I don't have exactly a place to put my pinky, but I can kind of wedge it up there. Whereas this one, you get a full pinky grip. I just kind of like having that less of a nub there. So I'm probably going to make a change with this one pretty soon. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hopefully it'll inspire you to go make your less expensive wheel gun look a little more expensive. It really is easy. It's just the simplest little modification ever. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of Dremel grease, I guess you'd say. It's not really elbow grease. But anyway, if you will, please check out the affiliate links down below. Those Linktree links, those give me a kickback of 3 to 5%, and that helps me put abrasive pads back on Dremels and bullets back in guns and gasoline back in the tank so I can keep turning on the camera and bringing you guys cool content. Anyway, I love you and I love my inexpensive firearms. These things are actually pretty cool. I like them. Y'all take care.